Haven't seen the characters quite yet. But yeah, we have another great series on our hands. If we're able to get to map 3, we were talking about, we have an Inky's Decider, which could be a lot of fun. But yeah, either way, a great series. And I think both of these teams really you could look at and easily think that they were a NASA level team. Just all of the players, some of them with NASA experience, and PPL especially, just having been the top of NASA and winning a lot of weeklies. People have talked about them as being, a pseudo NASA level team. But both of these teams have a chance to prove it. And like we talked about, this game, if you get into top 2 of this tournament, there is prize money. So whoever wins this is guaranteeing themselves at least something.
And to get into that position, obviously this first game is going to be also important. And I'm looking at the Awakenings. We have a heavy impact and cast the last start, and 5 people in this lobby have opted to go for heavy impact. So we're looking for a very damage heavy game 1 here.
Yeah, no KOs found yet. 1 barrier on each side as Bertram misses the roll there. Average Alex now passing to the top side, and whoever can find those KOs early might just have to start that snowball going, but nobody yet. General Twee, though, has level 2, but is staggered, being chased down by Fiery. Nothing found yet. Average Alex and Blue both looking for the kill, but they can't quite find it, and General Twee manages to stay alive. Almost gets the barrier, but a Sad Boys angle, and then they do take him out. An unfortunate turn there for Atlas's Gardeners as Average Alex pushes into this corner, but Bertram has an answer for everything, it seems like. Even keeps it alive with the strike shot and continuing to keep 1 barrier up on each side as another power play gets started for PPL.
PPL now again in the power play position. We're trying to get the core into this net now, but Bertram and Twee doing a really good job holding it down. Respawn coming back from Wallaby Gangsta soon as well, as we're back in a 3v3. Atlas Gardeners still need to find a good attack here to get the second barrier down, though, and it's Atlas's lab. It's so difficult to find that barrier when you're not really positioned for it well, and as it stands right now, PPL is really holding this offensive, but a beautiful rocket will actually find it. Open goals on both sides now.
Twee opens it up, but a pass by Bloom ahead to Fiery, who finds the strike. The roll just barely misses from Bertram, so it'll be a first point for PPL. A lot of KOs, but still both teams holding that defense into overtime. A lot of back and forth, and so far it's especially, I think, Wallaby Gangsta who's been getting that damage push. General Twee as well, and they really need to find a way, I think, to fight back in this game and find those KOs themselves, as they do get the first barrier. Wallaby pushing into the corner, but taking a lot of damage, and that's the problem if you run this corner offense for too long, as Wallaby gets stuck by Bertram there and now possibly disconnects. Still alive somehow, but taking a lot of damage at this point.
This connect strat saved him for a little bit, but he gets taken out eventually, as now back to a power play in favor of PPL. Twee has a flip here, might need to use it. Uses it defensively to keep it alive, though, but the core immediately just goes right back to the defensive end of Atlas Gardeners here.
Yeah, and as his teammates disconnect and continue to go down, Bertram just will not let this second barrier go down on the signature Dubu pick. You always know that's what he's going to be locking in, and then he's going to be telling them to buff Dubu in the Twitch chat afterwards, and he's just continuing to hold on as we hit overtime once again. And finally, it's Atlas's Gardeners who are finding themselves in the power play with Fiery going down. General Twee with the dash is able to open it up, and Wallaby finds the stun on Bloom and the goal. A great turnaround for Atlas's Gardeners there, and they tie this game back up.
They find the KO and immediately translate it into a goal that is just really well executed from their end, making sure they can take that advantage that they've played for and actually bring the results from it. Because PPL so far has been finding KOs, but they haven't really been getting a lot of consistent, strong attacks off of those power plays. So as of right now, Atlas Gardener is doing better work of their KOs.
And Bloom, unfortunately, primaries it upwards, doesn't use the flip, so a double barrier. Twee almost finds it with the rocket, Wallaby almost with the dash, but Bloom's able to time them both out, gets the core out, and now Fiery trying to open up this goal. The pass just barely goes past Alex, so it's going to turn into an offensive possession for Atlas Gardeners again, but not so fast. Fiery intercepts it, but the Dubu rolls are able to hold it for a moment, but not enough. The Zen primary gets it down. Twee finds the angle almost, but a great forward primary by Bloom is able to keep it alive, and a lot of energy on both sides. No one quite KO'd, but both goals open here.
Both goals are open. Alex has a flip soon, has it now, needs to use it immediately to not get hit by that huge crater maker, though. As Twee's dashing across, trying to get an attack going. The wall from Dubu actually doing a really good job holding core on the side of PPL, but they are able to stall it out. And meanwhile, Fiery with a beautiful KO actually on that Centauro, really showing why this heavy impact is such a strong awakening for Centauro, doing so much damage and creating a power play in favor of PPL.
but Bertram is still holding this corner down. They just can't find the pass down to Fiery with Wallaby positioning in the right spot. General Twee wins a strike war, so they get it back out onto PPL's side, but Wallaby Gangsta once again finding himself low, having to run out of the play, and Bertram and General Twee having to do it all, but they are defending this. They're continuing to hold on into overtime. Every point, Wallaby dashes in, almost finds it. The ult doesn't catch the core quite, so now pushed into the corner, once again staggered, and Fiery is able to find the KO. Another power play for PPL. We'll see if they can score it this time.
They are trying to find it for sure, but Bertram just doing such a good job utilizing this Dubu excellently, and an even better dash coming up from Twee to secure the second goal. Atlas Gardeners, even though they are getting KO'd a lot more often, are actually in the lead in this set.
Yeah, and PPL needs to find a little more efficiency on the power plays. I think they're using so many cooldowns to find those KOs. You know, Wallaby has died quite a few times, but at least making them use all their resources. And then Twee and Bertram have just been able to hold so well. They find the goal that time, but Wallaby goes down to the Vice ultimate. Gonna be tough to hold this one, but Twee once again just dashing out, turning the power play into offense of their own, and they're able to keep the barrier up for now.
Yeah, you can see Atlas Gardeners and especially Twee just positioning so well to immediately shut down any kind of passing attack play for the side of PPL. So even though PPL had a power play ready, they aren't really able to set themselves up and take real advantage of the man advantage that they have. We're now in an even playing state though, as both teams are setting up with a 3-cell alive. Twee is getting rather low, has to go for enemy orb there even to stay alive. But again, Bertram just doing an excellent job on this Dubu, keeping the barrier up, and Flip has to come out from Loom to not drop their own.
But now Twee, the one almost getting KO'd here. Wallaby's going to have to be the one to help on defense as they look for that final KO on Twee, though Average Alex does miss the primary, so able to stay alive for now. They can get it out here, and Wallaby finds a KO, turns it around to a power play for the Gardeners. Bertram with the pass up to Wallaby, gets disrupted, but they get it back to him. Trying to close in on this corner, pass by Twee over to Wallaby, but still Loom and Alex are able to hold on to this. Bertram now trying to set up some more offense, possibly trying to get that Tofu Fortress in there, but not able to now. We're back to an even game state.
Back to an even game state. The black hole is being popped, a lot of damage. Again, it's being traded, but you can just really see Loom and Bertram doing such a good job holding on to this last barrier, making it so difficult to actually take this pretty small barrier, one might say, on Atlas's lab, as a lot of damage again is being dumped into the side of Atlas Gardeners here. But no one's dead just yet. Never mind, Bertram gets caught off guard with the Vice ultimate, and now power play in favor of PPL.
Yeah, Bertram was full stagger, but just dashed and didn't have time to evade after the dash. An unfortunate situation there. They don't quite layer the strikes right, so finally PPL's able to get the goal open, though Bertram is back, and Fiery is on death's door. Stagger being pushed out of the play. Twee with the rocket is almost able to find the barrier, but not quite, as Wallaby tries to disrupt those passes between Fiery and Alex. The Zen ultimate catches it, but not quite enough to score, as Fiery is still staggered, but they just don't have the resources to finish that KO. Able to get back into the play. General Twee now trying to find a pass in good position for Wallaby Gangsta, as Bertram has to use the Tofu Fortress against the Finny secondary there. Just not quite enough consistent offense for the Gardeners to get this open, but they do continue to hold on as the flip from Wallaby Gangsta doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, they can't really get a good attack going to get the barrier down, but at the same time, PPL can't really get a consistent attack going to get it past this defensive goalie of Dubu. Fiery is getting rather low consistently as well, so it's increasingly hard for him to really position properly to be in a threatening position. So it kind of always devolves into this kind of 2v2 almost. So Fiery just trying to be up front, trying to get into position and get any kind of play going, while he's just continuously being pummeled down by Twee, and now ultimate from Wallaby Gangsta coming out as well. But Fiery still stays alive, but again, stagger, can't really do much. You're just out of the play, even though you're not dead.
Wallaby just barely misses the dash, so the barrier stays up. A lot like what we saw Bertram doing in these last points. Bloom's still able to hold on. The dash almost sends it away from Bertram, but not quite, as that's about the fourth Tofu Fortress of the point. But finally, PPL finds another power play. Fiery now trying to get a pass up to Alex, trying to get a score past Bertram. The Luna ult, though, and the rocket is able to open the goal, and the dash from Bertram keeps it alive. General Twee almost finds it, but a good flip by Bloom is able to keep it alive. Now Wallaby Gangsta is back in the play, trying to make a goal happen. Bertram with the pass up to General Twee, still keeping it alive as we continue in overtime. The log gets it past Fiery, and Twee trying to get a pass up to Wallaby Gangsta, but Average Alex just shutting off this midfield so well.
The attacks are just coming back and forth continuously, but again, no one really getting a good position. Never mind, Wallaby Gangsta perfectly in front of the goal there, making use of that Julie Punch to both stun Loom and get the core past. Well executed from the side of Atlas Gardeners, but that was a point that we're really fighting for. But we're going into the first draft here, and with an Awakening Start like Heavy Impact, this can snowball heavily. So there's a lot of high-value Awakenings in here as well, right? The Rapid Fire, the Deadeye, the Missile Propulsion, the Might, the Explosive. There's so much to be gotten here for even more KO.
Yeah, and it has to be Deadeye for Twee. Unfortunately, Vice and Fiddy are going to get to pick before anyone else for the Atlas Gardeners, but I think getting that Deadeye just means you're pretty much going to win the draft no matter what. But it is a lot of damage that is found for PPL, so I'm not so sure. The Catalyst going on to Dubu will help with those, but the Spark of Agility, not any survivability for Wallaby Gangsta is a bit of a concern. A lot of damage found for PPL there, but I think still the best single Awakening has to be that Deadeye getting on a General Twee here.
Yeah, most definitely. And even after that, you're looking at an Explosive Entrance for Fiery and a Missile Propulsion for Bloom. So they are incredibly happy with the Awakenings they're able to pick up here. And Atlas Gardener's not necessarily getting something comparable back other than the Deadeye Luna.
Yeah, and that Deadeye's going to be big as General Twee, not able to use it right now, gets KO'd off the edge there by Fiery. So Wallaby and Bertram going to have to hold it on like they did for so long in that first set, as we saw 3 players level 7 at the end of that first set, still continuing to fight. The Luna ultimate almost catches Bloom on the side, but had an evade, but the dash not able to be beat by Bloom, who is out of cooldown. So the goal gets opened first for Atlas's Gardeners. They're trying to find the core ahead to Wallaby, who's also looking for the KO on an Average Alex, but Average Alex turns it around and KOs Wallaby Gangsta himself.
That heavy impact coming in clutch there, but again, Atlas Gardener's doing a good job holding off. As it stands right now, the barrier does drop. Bertram uses the flip as well. Twee needs to be a bit careful. It's being taken out as well. The power play continues in favor of PPL, as now Fiery is in a 1v1 with Bertram, but Bertram disables the situation pretty cleanly. But a nice attack from Fiery. You'll find the gap between Wallaby and Bertram to get the point lead in the second set.
Yeah, the stun rather, found onto Bertram there. So a great strike by Fiery, gets it in between the defenders. And I think the fact they saw Twee get that Deadeye, that's going to be a way that they can turn this all. But instead, they just put their sights right on General Twee. They've already killed him twice. And if he's dead, he's not able to use that Deadeye. This time, though, it's Wallaby Gangsta who gets KO'd early on in the point. A lot of energy for PPL. Going to be hard for Bertram to hold on to this one, as the flip is used by Average Alex in the corner. And finally, a quick point is found for either side. This time, it's PPL taking a 2-0 lead in the set.
Yeah, you can really see that impact that those basically 3 damage awakenings had for the side of PPL, right? Because they're just pumping so much more damage out compared to the first set. They're already very high damaging characters on a base level, but being enabled with all these awakenings is just really making it so difficult and so punishing for the side of Atlas Gardeners to play out. But they are losing one barrier just now. Wallaby almost secures the second one there as well, but has to be careful. A lot of low HP bars on the board again.
Yeah, Wallaby and Alex both looking for a KO on each other. Neither found yet, though. The Luna ultimate will find it. The Crater Maker takes out Average Alex. Fiery almost KO'd as well, but Wallaby continues to be staggered. Finds the orb, but just so many levels down. But it's Bertram who finds the KO this time. Loom holding on against 3, but is able to stall out long enough for Average Alex to be back in the play. Nothing found yet, and Bertram having to be wary of these abilities, not lose his barrier on the power play. A lot of energy for Atlas's Gardeners, but they're not able to convert that time.
They can't convert it just yet, but the core still is on the attack for them, as almost Twee finds the dash into the goal. But Fiery now in front of the barrier is able to control it past Bertram here. 2 flips on the side of Atlas Gardeners. They might have to use one defensively if it comes down to it, as the Vice ultimate comes out, sends the core flying. But again, Bertram just holding it down on the back end, not really letting any kind of silly course go through. Twee with a nice dash, almost gets it in, flips in front of the goal now, will shoot it and finds the angle past Malou.
So much patience from Twee there, waited for everything to clear out for him, and then just sends it right to the bottom corner. So a good response by Atlas's Gardeners, and they're able to hold on to that energy for Bertram and Wallaby. Although Twee will have a target on his back here, so low on energy, but looks like early on, it's Wallaby Gangsta who's going for KOs, and he finds it on Average Alex. Another power play for Atlas's Gardeners.
Another power play. They haven't found the barrier just yet, though, because Maloom is doing a really good job holding on defensively. Fiery shutting down any kind of passing play between both of the forwards here as well. As now Alex is back on the field. Fiery is getting low, so does have to be a bit careful of that Juliet to not be caught off guard anywhere. Almost gets caught off guard, but never mind. A nice evade from Fiery will bait out the ability usage and immediately punish that Julie dash punch as well. Now power play in favor of PPL.
But Fiery's going to be pushed out, so going to make it pretty much a 2v2 as he does get staggered, has to fall back for the orb, and Twee's just able to strike war enough in that top side that they're not able to get anything. A good strike shot by Bertram means he's able to keep the flip out for now. The Tofu Fortress as well keeps it alive, and once again, Fiery and Wallaby Gangsta just punching each other over and over again like it feels like every single play. Twee and Wallaby are able to guide that core into the top side. They get their first barrier of the point, but Fiery dribbling to the bottom, looking for it with Bertram, but the log is able to hold on, misses the flip, but still able to keep it alive for now. But Fiery with a well-timed primary is able to open up that goal. Bloom with the pass ahead to average Alex as Fiery tries to stay alive, tries to get involved in the offense. And once again, Wallaby Gangsta finding himself having to run to the other end just so low. And that time gets flipped, sent out. Fiery with the dash, almost finds it. Average Alex has the flip to try to close out this set, but it's Wallaby Gangsta turning it into a power play for Atlas's Gardeners.
Power play coming in. Barrier hasn't dropped it, and the strike shot goes just past the corner. Bertram not timing that correctly as Alex with the flip will secure the first set in favor of PPL. We're going to go into another Awakening draft, and we're going to have a lot of, again, potentially very threatening Awakenings. Looking at what we have now, we are looking at a specialized training that both the Vice and the Luna will like. Do you see anything else that might be worth pointing out?
I mean, you've got the hat there. You've got Spark of Resilience as well. Looks like Zen will go for the Spark of Resilience because Julie already picked up that Spark last time, but that means that Wallaby Gangsta is able to pick up that Stagger Swagger. But Specialized Training going to Vice here. Wallaby Gangsta has already been KO'd by that ultimate so many times, and that's just going to mean it's happening even more.
Yeah, I'm gonna be curious. I'm curious to see how well Wallaby is gonna be able to stay up with the Stagger Swagger hat here, because a lot of damage from the side of PPL is just coming out almost at once, right? So I do wonder how much value the Stagger Swagger will bring for this Julia.
Yeah, and also Twee going for the stacks is risky. I think Wallaby is the one that's been getting damaged more, but still, it is hard for a Luna to stay alive with all the damage that's already out on the table. We'll see if Twee's able to keep the stacks up as Wallaby, once again, finding himself low, finding himself without energy, is able to take one on his way out. So it's a 2v2 now. Bertram goes for the pass, but average Alex cuts it off with the primary and finds a first goal in the set for PPL.
First goal going in favor of PPL, but I feel like generally speaking the point was played out decently evenly, but again, Twee needs to be careful, doesn't have a single evade to his name as it stands right now. So if PPL is going to opt to damage dump into this Luna, there's not much he can really do about it. As the core goes past Bertram and they trade a barrier.
Able to barely catch it with the log there and avoid complete disaster as General Twee is KO'd. And I think even more than the score, they're going to be looking for this KO, take away those 50 stacks from General Twee. Able to stay alive right now, but just running for his life and continuing to be staggered. You see Fiery running all the way into the corner, chasing him, and nowhere to go for General Twee. So the stacks are gone. A power play found for PPL, but Bertram and Wallaby once again doing a good job keeping the core out of that corner.
The power play not the only thing going in favor of PPL though, as almost all of them will have a flip available within the next few seconds. Fiery had to use an evade actually, but Alex close to an evade. Bloom has a flip as well. They do find one without even having to use a flip the barrier there. Now the attack going through, Bertram holding on, but the momentum's really going in PPL's favor here with the flip coming out from Alex, and the nice stall from Fiery will get it past both Bertram and Twee there.
Yeah, Wallaby was almost able to get it out of there with the Fiery Flurry, but not quite. Fiery with the primary is able to find it into that bottom side. It's just becoming too much to have to hold on to these power plays. I think early on, Bertram and Twee were able to do it, but just they're able to be more efficient PPL and have more cooldowns as Wallaby Gangsta goes out early, and it's another power play for PPL.
That Vice ultimate has a little bit of damage to a power play coming out now, and Twee's also taken out. It's just really so much damage being thrown at Atlas Gardeners here. Really difficult to actually execute this as the power play gets extended. The damage hasn't really found its way onto the remaining members of Atlas Gardeners. Wallaby Gangsta down to half HP, Bertram down to half HP as well, and the cooldowns are just going to come back. Fiery has a flip as well, can use that for the barrier if he does need to feel like it's necessary. And the abilities are coming out from Atlas Gardeners, but they're not really really finding the damage. They're not really finding their targets as Flip now comes out from Fiery as well. Gets the barrier. Ultimate coming out in front of the goal. But Bertram holding it down. But the HP bars are just getting lower and lower. A KO and a goal for PPL.
No more midfielder left to stagger those strikes, and just not enough. I think these constant power plays are meaning none of those abilities are able to be used for damage for the Gardeners themselves, so they just can't find the counter KOs, and it's been too much for them. As we go into this draft, you have the Hot Shot. You also have the Extra Special as interesting picks for both the Vice and the Luna. Curious to see what they go for, but Bertram decides to deny that Adrenaline Rush. So many KOs have been found. It does mean a second Spark onto Fiery, more Stagger, and the Extra Special on Vice just means more of those super damaging ultimates that Wallaby Gangsta and General Twee are all too familiar with.
Yeah, General Twee opting for the peak performance as well in hopes that that might help a little bit, but I'm not quite sure if that's going to do as much as he really needs it to combine the fact as well. Mloom is able to pick a hot shot for the Finny, so the cooldowns are just going to go even lower and the game's going to get accelerated so much more as well now. As we kick off this next point, one barrier down for both teams.
Yeah, feels like PPL found what they need, and this set's going to go just like the last one did, but we'll see if Atlas's Gardeners have a way to fight back against this as General Twee tries to control this corner, tries to get a pass down to Wallaby Gangsta, who's pushing up, looking for those dash punches, but PPL is playing smart. They know that the only way that they're able to get back into this game is if the Gardeners are able to find those KOs. Wallaby Gangsta now pushing it ahead and is able to find it. I think Mloom a bit of a misstrike there. Twee going for the shot, not quite able to find it. Now gonna have to reset as the core gets back to Bertram. Has a core flip, doesn't have to use it yet though. It's sent into the corner, but the strike shot from Bloom is able to keep it alive for now, but a lot more consistent offense found, but Wallaby Gangsta gets taken out by that Vice ultimate once again, and Bertram just not able to hold on against all these strikes. Fiery with the pass down. Average Alex almost KO'd, might get KO'd here, but sent into the corner, but Atlas Gardeners able to hold on to that power play and turn it into one of their own.
They're holding on and they now can try to get a goal going here, but Wallaby Gangsta's dash punch will go south just a little bit. The ultimate coming out from Bertram here, the strike bar being won by Loom. I do really want to point out in this last set a really good play from Alex there, because the KO on Wallaby, he was found because Wallaby was trying to go for a dash punch, but Alex recognized that, popped the ultimate, and in the Vice ultimate he can't be moved. So he just waited till Julie was on the other half of his player model and just took him out.
Yeah, and I think Wallaby Gangsta against that extra special and specialized training is going to have to be wary of that every time he goes for a KO, but not going for KOs here. Finds both barriers. General Twee almost finds the right strike to score it as well, but the core does get past them, sent to Fiery for just a moment. Wallaby Gangsta dangerously on that edge against that flip of Fiery, but they're keeping the core away. They continue to dribble the core up the field. The log from Bertram keeps it there for just a moment, but Fiery not quite able to get it as a perfectly timed strike from Bertram gets it out. They're looking for the KO on Fiery, who's trapped in the Tofu Fortress. They might find the goal before they find that, as Wallaby finds the stun and the goal, able to get it, and 2-0 for Atlas's Gardeners as they do turn this around.
A masterclass for Bertram to hold on to that barrier. I feel like no strike, no ability was misused at the bottom there. And off of not losing that barrier, the side of Atlas Gardeners were able to find that momentum to get the goal in as well. 2-0 lead now. They do need to find a third to force a set 5 here as they go down one barrier, but they trade one almost immediately back now.
Yeah, and Twee finally able to keep those stacks up to 150 right now. It was such a struggle in that last set, but has it right now, and that speed is showing as he tries to play defense in this corner. Wallaby just a little bit low, and Twee as well. They're going to have to share these orbs, try to both stay alive as Bertram continues to hold this second barrier, one on each side found. They get the core down to Twee now, who does have, there's a lot of energy on every member of the game, really. Bloom has to use the flip defensively that time, sends it out, and Wallaby is really close to a flip himself. Gonna have to use that energy one way or another, but has to evade there from that ultimate from Average Alex. The core goes around, but a Sad Boys angle means the core is not found, and General Twee's flip gets pushed away, so still one barrier open on each side as we hit overtime.
One barrier open on each side. Alex, no evades, no HP. Bloom, no evades, no HP. Very dangerous position to be in as Alex now gets taken out. But so is Twee. It's also low. There's just so much damage being found. An attack, though, coming out from Atlas Gardeners here. Julie being able to hold that core on the front end, trying to get the barrier here. They have a flip, and they use it to actually confirm this barrier now. Open goal on the side of PPL. Atlas Gardeners need to try to finish off the set right here, right now.
Yeah, and Bertram used the log there, didn't quite find the core flip in time. Twee goes for a KO on Fiery, but does miss, so he's going to stay alive, although might not have much time left in the game. If they find that, instead, Twee and Wallaby going for the goal. They almost get it past the secondary of Blue, but not quite, but Wallaby finds the strike war, and a 3-0 set for Atlas Gardeners means we're heading to a 5th set of this game.
Going to a 5th set, and we're going to yet another draft. Now, let's see what awakenings are still available. The perfect form is still up. The fight or flight is still up. The 1-2 is still up. Another spark as well that needs to be considered. Fiery is in the last pick position here, so unlikely that he's going to be able to find a 3rd spark for himself here.
Yeah, gonna be have to be denied by someone, and Wallaby does already have the spark of agility, so might go for it and does here. So more power on Wallaby Gangsta, a little bit more speed to try to stay alive as well. Interestingly, Twee does go for the Among Titans, makes himself a little bit of a smaller target, and just that speed along with the stacks and peak performance means that if the Loon is able to stay alive for a long time, just going to be absolutely flying around the map. But Average Alex with the fighter flight as well, going to have a lot of speed himself. So these midfielders both are going to be able to move a lot more, but it's Wallaby Gangsta who's finding it so far, has both barriers open, and Bertram pushing up, trying to get a pass to him. It gets around, but somehow Twee and Bertram keep both barriers up and find a KO, and Wallaby Gangsta finds the goal on the other side as well.
What a beautiful clear into an even better attack there. And I also do want to point out the Among Titans doing a good work for the side of Atlas Gardeners here as well, because size is very much something that a Dubu and a Julie also enjoy working with. So it goes both ways. Twee is able to be much more present on the map with a lot more movement speed, and Wallaby, Gangsta, and Bertram are going to be so much more impactful as well on those strike wars.
Twee almost getting KO'd, and Fiery looking for it, but able to dodge away with all that speed. Both forwards of Atlas's Gardeners are low, but Bertram able to hold on for now, has the defensive flip to use as well. They're really looking for this KO on Twee, but so much speed to get away means he's able to stay alive. Wallaby dribbling forward, trying to get the core to him as Twee falls back, tries to get the orb, tries to keep these stacks on board, loses the strike war, but Bertram able to find the flip just in time and gets the right clear out in the corner. And every time those Tofu Fortresses are on, it creates possible offense or defense, but we saw that last set, and Average Alex finds the KO on Wallaby Gangsta as he goes for it himself.
It's just such a difficult matchup for the Julie to play out if Alex is playing this correctly, as he is back on the field now though, 3v3, but Bertram gets taken out. No goalie left on the side of Atlas Gardeners. They are keeping core control as well as they can, but it's still a power play for PPL, and Fiery finds the angle, doesn't even have to use the flip to even out the set.
Importantly, keeps that energy up, and a lot of energy for PPL means this is going to be a tough point to find for Atlas's Gardeners, but they're able to stay alive, the forwards, it feels like, but Bertram unfortunately is the one that gets KO'd that time. Twee now pushed into the corner, first barrier found for PPL, and a great kickoff, although they do force the flip out of Fiery. Wallaby almost gets KO'd in the same way, but not quite, able to just barely stay alive on that edge now, but finding himself damaged, staggered, pushed into this corner, almost finding a second barrier, but not quite. Now gets KO'd, and it's a power play for PPL.
Power play going their way now. Alex has a flip soon. Bloom is playing extremely aggressive as well with his Finny, trying to get even more damage out, trying to extend this power play, and is able to successfully force this barrier now as well. As Twee almost finds the angle past Bloom, Bloom has to flip to defend this. But as Atlas Gardeners is back on the defensive end now, Wallaby Gangsta are able to get the core out though, as we're now on the side of PPL again. Ultimate from Julia coming out, but not really translating into a KO on Alex there, as Alex still is holding on to this flip, trying to find a good time to use it. Maybe wants to use it defensively, or opts to TP forward with this Vice and use it as the core is going his way. Is in front of the goal now, uses the ultimate, but a nice Crater Maker almost immediately shuts down that attack. An even better dash out from Fiery will get a KO. Wallaby Gangsta immediately replying to it, but Wallaby also getting rather low, so it's essentially a 2v1 as they're just being bounced around. So much damage coming out from the side of PPL.
Wallaby somehow able to stay alive for a long time, but a great combo by Fiery, the primary into the secondary. He's able to find it. Twee almost gets the barrier around Balloon, but has the strike up in time. Average Alex now pushed into the corner. The primary finds it. So much core speed, and the ultimate is what gets it past Bertram and Twee, and that means it's map point for PPL.
Map point for PPL on a map that Atlas Gardeners have chosen, keep in mind. So they are now going to go into this kickoff. The energy looks slightly favored for the side of Atlas Gardeners, but that's simply just because Bertram does have a flip available to him. And that's going to be a flip that's mainly just going to be used on the defensive end. As the core goes through, gets both barriers down from Atlas Gardeners. Now PPL really looking to finish this off, but Twee with a nice dash will take a first barrier. Wallaby Gangsta trying to get the second barrier and finds the strikes past it, almost gets taken out as well, is able to stay on the map. The Double Fortress coming out to shut down any kind of clear going that way, but Alex with a beautiful primary just shoots it right past Twee and gets this game win for PPL.
Yeah, the same clear, the same read that Average Alex found earlier in this game. It almost got into General Twee's hands, but just not quite. The strike was a little bit too late, and Average Alex shuts them down. Atlas Gardeners were in great position to possibly win that point. That core flip was just held on Bertram for so long, but not able to do it. A 29-minute, 40-second map for Atlas's Gardeners pick, but it ends up in a loss and just a heartbreaking one. Tough to come back from that. Just a lot of momentum for PPL, but they showed that they could compete against this team that, like we talked about before the game, has such an incredible win streak going all the way back to landing.
Yeah, most definitely. And I kind of want to point out as well, PPL really has been on that KO train. They were able to find a grand total of 24 kills in this one game. So not quite a kill per minute, but you're getting there. Damage is also just insanely high from the entire team. So obviously that team comp was opting to really lean into that heavy impact, leaning into that damage and KO win con, and they were doing so excellently. Now, we are going to be moving on into a night market game next, and I do wonder if we're going to be able to see similar kind of game plans, or if it's going to have to change. It's going to be very reliant on those awakenings as well, so interested to see what else will come our way here.
Yeah, always going to depend on those awakenings. But both teams, once they saw that Deadeye had a game plan and went for this, I think Bertram with 122 saves in that game was able to hold on to so many power plays. I think if PPL was a little more efficient in some of those, in converting them or just having more abilities up, but that's part of what Atlas's Gardeners were doing. If they were finding those KOs, it meant they had to use a lot of abilities. But yeah, if we get to another KO game, it'll be interesting if they're still able to hold on to so many power plays, or if they, hopefully are just able to dominate the KOs. But the way the drafts went, it just meant that PPL had the lead in damage, and as much as they tried to hold on, it was too much. And like you said, 24 KOs in about 29 minutes there meant that it was just a little bit too much to overcome.
Yeah, just really, really difficult to actually approach that. But we do have our next awakenings ready. It's a Spark of Agility and Catalyst, so much less damage heavy this time around. I do wonder where the priorities are going to lie within the bans here as well. If maybe some of these more comfortable picks are going to be taken out here from either of the teams.
Yeah, the catalyst means that it's going to be hard to find the KOs like they did in that last game, but the spark start also means that you're kind of pressured into taking that. So a really interesting way for this to start. Atlas Gardeners going for the rune ban, and PPL not wanting to see Wallaby Gangsta on that Julie like we saw in the last game means that we're going to have a different game for certain. As Atlas Gardeners go for the Asher in the first pick, I think that could be in the goalie role or the brawler role, but Asher and Julie both taken away earlier.
Yeah, a lot of these, if Asher ends up being in that forward position, right? These are like the two characters that just do such a good job at forcing through. The next best thing you have of just forcing through a defense would be an X, but an X is always very matchup dependent of depending on which kind of goalie you're gonna run into. So I do wonder what the forward pool will now look like for the side of PPL as Asher's out. Never mind, X has been picked, so we're gonna be looking at an X here to try to force this way through, and then now to support him. Now we've seen it for the entirety of the national season. We've seen it for the entirety of the NASA season. Just such a strong pick at controlling this midfield, at enabling those forwards, and especially someone like an X that is rather low on the movement speed really enjoys those now mines to enable him to be wherever he wants to be.
Yeah, and if it wasn't PPL, I would say they might be, pressuring into the Mako now X that you see a lot, and I think is especially good on this map. But I'm not sure if Bloom is going to want to play that or if they're willing to go for it. But we do see Bertram going for the Boo once again, the signature pick. So the Asher will be in the brawler role, going to be looking for those dash punches, and General Twee will be on that Juno once again. not once again,
Yeah.
but a signature pick for him.
Juno's going to be an annoying pick to be dealing with because it has so many blobbles that can do the work. The Kai being locked in for the side of PPL as well now, that one's likely going to go towards Maloom. So a lot of movement speed for the side of PPL and a lot of core control. But again, same being answered from Atlas Gardeners here. It's that the game plan does look to be mainly just control the core, maybe get some passive damage out, because a lot of these characters also do a really good job at just passively taking out the enemy by just being on top of core while enemy is there as well. So even though it's not looking like a KO heavy game, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the knockout every once in a while.
Yeah, and Bloom going for that Kai goalie, going to be trying to push up a lot, so kind of counteracting that core control and just trying to keep it on that side as much as they can. Much like we saw in the last game, you saw Bertram having 40 more saves than Bloom. I think they're going to try to create that situation again of just putting that pressure on the Dubu over and over again. But yeah, much different game, but I think fairly standard for Night Market here. But it'll be interesting to see if either team really is able to find that KO lead earlier, or if it'll depend on the awakenings that are found, kind of like in the last game.
I'm also going to be curious. It's also going to be interesting to see who's going to opt for the Spark start and who's going to just go for the Catalyst, right? Because the Spark is looking for a future draft, is looking to snowball a potential lead that you have and just make it basically unplayable for the other side. Agility Spark, giving you that speed, is also just a great standalone awakening. Even if you don't get another Spark, right? You're always happy to get a little bit more speed. Catalyst, on the other hand, though, is just guaranteed value, right? Just more flips, more evades, more consistently. So curious to see who's going to opt for what here, as we do now know Spark of Agility on Twee, Fiery, and Maloom, and Bertram, Wallaby, and Alex opting for this Catalyst, so an even 50-50 split.
Yeah, and the fact that only one of the brawlers has them is interesting, and also the midfield role. I guess every role here, you have one taking Spark on each side, so that makes the drafts really interesting for how they end up getting placed. But we're in this first set here. Neither barrier found quite yet. Bloom with the pass down to average Alex. Fiery now going for some damage, but not finding much as they try to control this core. But so far, neither side able to find much of an offense. Fiery with a great dribble to himself is able to win the strike war, able to get that first barrier. Average Alex with the primary, gets it around Wallaby Gangsta. Fiery looking for this, but Bertram hits level 2 in the Tofu Fortress, able to keep that second barrier alive for now.
Able to keep the second barrier, but PPL still on the attack as Flip will find a KO. Flip has to come out from Bertram here to hold on to this barrier. Power play in favor of PPL now. Not really able to find the barrier. Loom standing extremely offensively here, but he can. It's a power play, right? They take the second barrier. Fiery used the flips as well, but is not able to translate it into a goal. But a rather big advantage in this first point now for the side of PPL, as the core is slowly approaching the goal, and Fiery with a well-timed bell ringer will just stun both Bertram and Twee, not allowing them to defend their goal.
A beautiful strike from Alex, whether it be a pass to Fiery or a shot himself, but Fiery found the stun either way, and a first goal in flashy manner able to be found for PPL. So once again, taking control, and if they can find this, they'll guarantee themselves at least some prize money if they can find themselves in grand finals, and a win here would mean it. But Atlas Gardner is trying to continue this, playing defense as Fiery finds a lot of strike wars, able to get it on that side, but Bertram and Twee hold on to the defense for now and not able to let anything go just yet, with Wallaby sending it down to the bottom side. A lot of energy for both forwards there as Bertram pushes ahead with the strike shot, tries to create some more offense. Fiery holding control of that passing lane between Twee and Bertram, and the Juno ultimate, just neither side really able to find too consistent of offense, and a lot of energy spent there, but neither KO found. And Wallaby Gangsta, the first one looking like he could be KO'd in this point.
Could be KO'd, but there's not really looking like the focus on the side of PPL here. Fiery gets some continuous damage on top of him, but it doesn't look like they're actually opting to take him out. More so just trying to keep him low, trying to have him not be able to partake in any kind of play here, as a flip comes out from Twee here, but it doesn't find anything. He doesn't really have anywhere to shoot it to, because Wallaby Gangsta was so low. The attack now trying to be built again, though. The Juno being very oppressive on the front end here, but Bloom with the flip just quickly disabling this attack, as a nice flip from Fiery will find the angle past the Dubulog and also get the barrier here. Open goal now on the side of Atlas Gardeners.
Yeah, perfect shot from Fiery. The only place that Bertram couldn't really cover. Tried to with the strike shot, but doesn't find it. Average Alex with the pass up now, but the strike shot from Bertram keeps it alive for now. And Bloom pushing up a little bit too far as the Log is able to find that second barrier in overtime with all the core speed. Average Alex going for a KO with the core flip, but instead loses all of his energy. Fiery looking for the KO on Wallaby Gangsta, but the ult means that he himself gets damaged a little bit more. Alex pushing ahead with the speed. Not quite able to find it, and Bloom sends it ahead to Fiery. Almost finds it with the XX Maximus, but it's not quite enough size, and they're just not able to quite get a clean pass to Fiery like they did in that first point. Alex, though, gets it here. Fiery dribbling ahead, but every time Bertram has the cooldowns to be able to win those interactions.
Yeah, Bertram's just playing it so well on this Dubu, not allowing Fiery the space, interrupting it as early as possible always, just making it so difficult to really get an attack going. But same thing applies from Loom, using the Sky, using these barrages to just not really give Wallaby Gangsta the space to make use of this Asher. So it's really turning into a kind of back and forth attack continuously, where both midfields are trying to get a really strong attack going for their forwards, but the goalies are just really dissecting these attacks so fast and so cleanly.
Yeah, flip used by Wallaby Gangsta, not finding much, not the core or a KO. So Average Alex now trying to get it ahead to Fiery, who is getting dangerously close to that flip. Just needs a few more hits, and maybe that'll be what's able to create a goal, but instead goes for some damage and uses a little too far from the goal to create any real pressure. So we're continuing to just go back and forth, and I think when you're in overtime with both goals open, it's going to be the advantage for Atlas's Gardeners that they do find the goal there. It just means that Bloom's not able to push up and help their offense like he's able to when those barriers are still up.
Yeah, and to add on top of that, that Juno is just a really strong overtime character, right? Those wobbles sending that core red speed almost always is going to be so difficult to really position for, especially if you don't really have an insane amount of range, right? Both Alex and Fiery don't really have a lot of range to be working with. The longest range they do have is the now primary there, so it always comes down to Bloom to try to catch those cores as they go past. The barrier does drop now on the side of PPL again, as they're trying to get an attack going, but again, it's just really being defended. You can even see Wallaby being a little bit further back here, just making sure that these barriers are not going to be given up for free.
Yeah, just so hard to open that goal this point for PPL. They do find the first barrier to the top corner of a well-placed strike by Average Alex. Core gets around him for now, but able to hold control of this midfield. Something we didn't talk about last game. General Twee, not a believer in magnetized souls, so going for the slick kicks this game, and I believe did last game as well. So that's just something to look at as you watch how General Twee and Average Alex navigate this midfield. And it's Alex pushing ahead, winning a lot of strike wars, a lot of interactions, energy advantage for PPL, for Atlas Gardeners rather, but the goal does get opened, and once again, just Bertram and Wallaby Twee all holding hands on defense and able to keep this alive to overtime once again.
Keeping it alive to overtime, and the core does find its way in front of Wallaby there that can just use that Asher primary to secure the goal. You can see it's increasingly difficult for the side of PPL to really get an attack going, because Dubu alone already is such a strong defensive power, and if you have a Juno that's going to continuously help with wobbles as well, and an Asher that helps as well, which on its own already is a pretty decent goalie pick, it's just so difficult to get enough force to go through that defense. So PPL has a rather difficult task ahead of themselves to get the outplays going, trying to get maybe play around these positionings, but even then, it's so difficult to do that as well, because the Juno has so much range to work with these globals here.
Yeah, as Fiery almost gets KO'd, the Tofu Fortress pushes him away, and then a well-timed, well-placed strike is able to get that first barrier. Loom pushing up, trying to help the offense, but once again has to play defense, and Wallaby Gangsta is able to find the dash punch onto Fiery, so first power play we've seen in quite a while in this game, but Average Alex able to stall most of it out with some strike war wins in the corner. We'll see if Bloom can hold on against this slime, and Wallaby closing in, but Fiery is back into the play, and the barrage from Bloom keeps it alive.
The barrage keeps it alive. Bertram now on the defense, but again can solve that attack pretty swiftly without even having to use the flip. So even if the attack is going to go that way, the flip comes out from Bertram. He finds the angle past Maloom, actually, as now PPL is sitting on an open goal again. And Atlas Gardeners will find the strike war win to get this first set.
Yeah, incredible turnaround by Bertram, who barely saved that barrier, found it on the other side, and then a missed dribble by Average Alex just put the core right into Twee's hands. I think the one thing that they could maybe find is if Bloom is able to be on offense, those multi-hits from the barrage can beat a Juno, but having to play so much defense that it's average Alex who has to beat those and just doesn't have the cooldowns for it. Twee going for the Among Titans just like he did last game, so a ton of speed on this Juno now. Aerials and explosive entrance means a little bit more speed on the haste specifically for Kai and Now, and then the size going over to both brawlers means just going to be able to hold down those sides even a little bit more.
Yeah, but that Among Titans really gonna, again, same thing as last game, is gonna do so much work because both Wallaby and Bertram like a little bit more size on their end, and Twee already being so oppressive in that midfield position, not really giving as much space, is now going to be even more mobile to really shut down any kind of attack from the side of PPL, as PPL does find a singular barrier, but immediately gets traded back right side of Atlas Gardeners here.
Yeah, this was the map pick for PPL, but Atlas Gardeners just looks like the more comfortable comp, the more comfortable team right now. They are having to play a little bit more defense than they had before, or they're playing offense rather in the corner most of the time, been working in those lanes, but Twee just has so much speed to maneuver it around. Wallaby misses the strike at first, but is able to get that barrier open. Fiery gonna have to find a response here, but a great clear from Bertram gets it out for the moment. Wallaby in the corner finds it with the core flip. Average Alex trying to stall out this power play himself and does win a lot of interactions, gets the barrier open. Bloom with the Giga Blast as well is able to stall somewhat, but they are closing in. A great clear by Bloom once again though. They were able to stall that power play, both goals open, and Fiery finds a KO.
Now power play in favor of PPL as they're going to try to get an attack going. Wallaby, though, doing a good job interrupting as many cores as he can here, using the speed gate in the middle as well to be basically everywhere he needs to be. But PPL is continuing on the aggression here. Flip has to come out from Bertram to say keep this point alive, and a clean strike bar win from Fiery will secure this point for PPL.
And a beautiful Giga Blast from Bloom set up that strike war for Fiery, who did find it. So a response here for PPL in that first point, doing a great job holding on to that power play in the middle, and then clean execution of offense themselves. Whenever Bloom is able to get involved, it can become a little bit too much for Bertram. As you see Bloom pushing in, uses the core flip, almost finds it with the barrage, but Fiery with the X Maximus is able to take down Bertram, and Wallaby Gangsta trying to turn it into offense of his own. General Twee gonna have to hold on against both forwards, and Fiery just walks him down. The size advantage, such a hard strike war to win, and 2 points for PPL.
And I was looking at Bloom on that offense and thinking, when is he going to eject back? But he just ended up not doing it. And that really highlights how much force the side of PPL needs to go through that defense, because Bloom is just fully committing onto that offense, using that flip offensively as well. And it ended up working out for PPL. So they need to continue to find three-man offenses like this. But it's going to be, again, it's a very risky business as well, trying to go for something like that, because one single strike war win and the core is going towards your barriers.
Great Giga Blast once again sets up Fiery, finds the first barrier of the point for either side. Average Alex trying to get it around Wallaby Gangsta, but just so much size with the Among Titans and the built different. Uses the flip now, Alex, and gets it stuffed back. So one barrier on each side now as Bloom does push into the play and is able to find it. Alex controlling that speed gate, making sure the core can't get behind Bloom, who does fall back now, but that secondary will be back up soon, and he wants to use it on offense. Fiery coming back to help out. Bloom looking again at that midfield line. The Giga Blast sends it up and forces a flip out of Bertram, still staying alive, and the barrage is able to get it past Twee like we talked about. That Kai into Juno matchup is so winnable for the Kai, but both barriers are open now. Both goals, Bertram dribbling it around, Average Alex trying to get it around Wallaby Gangsta and does find it, but now closing in on Bloom. Going to be difficult for this Kai to hold on, but does for now. The now second primary as well, helping set up Fiery. A lot of energy in the midfield here. Average Alex has the flip. Wallaby Gangsta getting close as the Giga Blast sends it to Wallaby Gangsta. Actually, the speed kept up by Bloom. Both flips, but they're both in front of Wallaby Gangsta, who gets behind the defense, has the flip, and burns out a lot of energy for Atlas's Gardeners.
What an unfortunate flip usage from the side of PPL there. They could have just, if they held on to both of these, they could have used both of these flips to try to get the set closed out, but they don't have that available now. Fiery, though, doesn't really care about it, just takes a barrier on his own right there, as set of Atlas Gardeners returns with one of their own as well. Both goalies now have one barrier left, and the strike from Wallaby Gangsta will actually find the gap in between Loom and Alex's defense there, as now an open goal on the side of PPL. PPL, though, attacking yet again, but Bertram holding it off just well.
And another missed flip from PPL. Their last 3 flips have all just hit air. And Wallaby Gangsta has the ult in the corner, but a little bit too sharp of an angle. Easy to strike away for Bloom and Average Alex. So the energy advantage, despite all of that, is back in PPL's favor, but they have to get this second goal open. Fiery staggered, low on stagger and energy, but just not enough pressure from Atlas's Gardeners to push him out of the play. Average Alex has to use the flip, and a KO by Fiery is found. Bertram misses the strike, but doesn't cost him anything for now. Has the flip, but isn't able to use it with the stun from Fiery. Average Alex passes it down, but General Twee has this flip, dangerously pushing up. Bloom has to stay back because of that, so not able to help the offense this time. Fiery now looking for the timing, but doesn't find it. Bloom rotates the core around, and Average Alex and Bloom both trying to get this core to Fiery in good position against Bertram, who does not have any energy. So if that X Maximus can stun, that could be a way to win the set. But once again, the Dubu roll is able to keep the point alive, though. Fiery nearing a flip. General Twee gonna have to use this offensively or defensively, but doesn't, and the pass up to Fiery, who finds it into the corner. A set response for PPL, and this game is all tied up.
The lock just didn't come out in time, and now we're looking at Sparks as well, because 2 members of the side of PPL have a Spark starter here, and we have 2 Sparks in this draft as well. Spark Strength and Spark Resilience. I would imagine one of them might find its way onto Fiery here just to get that extra speed, that extra presence. Opts for the stacks on stacks. Just base level speed, always really great as well for the X to pick up.
Yeah, and the fact that Asher doesn't have any here means that you're able to see that Spark of Resilience go down to your Kai if you want it, but instead going for the Glass Cannon. So it is a weird draft there to not go for the Spark. But I think just opting that the stacks on stack speed is going to be enough, and not enough KO pressure has been found on Fiery to be worried about taking that. And I think that probably is a good gamble to make here, as Fiery tries to get those stacks up early, already up to 30 with the X Maximus and so many hits being found. Having to play defense in the corner are Alex and Bloom, but they're able to keep it alive, trying to get it ahead to Fiery. Finds a good strike into the corner, and now Bertram does win the one-on-one for the goal, but Bloom trying to push ahead, trying to make use of this eject button and help, but all 3 members of PPL falling back on defense quite a bit this game, but just layering these strikes so well that it's really hard for Atlas's Gardeners to be able to open up this goal these last sets and this first point. The flip from Average Alex is met out, and Fiery has this core flip. Bloom trying to get it to him in good position. The core just gets away from everyone, though, and somehow rolls in a first point for PPL.
And Fiery, crucially here as well, is able to hold on to this flip, so can now use it for another play. Bloom has flip as well, so I'm fully expecting this Kai to be sitting in the enemy half once that flip is up for him there, as now the core is being bounced back and forth. Fiery is looking to get involved, maybe trying to find a KO, but doesn't find anything. Core is still within PPL's control, though. The attack from Atlas Gardeners are continuously coming out. That missile proportion Dubu also showing its worth, as the core just gets sent into the half of PPL, and there's not much they can do about that. They need to swap sides here, but again, that speed gate play in the middle is so crucial as well, as the side of Atlas Gardeners are able to respond. But a KO from Fiery is going to bring the value power play in favor for PPL now. One berry drops. Are they going to find the second one? No. Strike layering is just being executed excellently here, as Bloom now runs up as well. The flip comes out from Bertram, though, and finds a barrier. The overextension from Bloom being punished almost immediately there.
Yeah, I think Bloom not too worried about it. You're able to hold on to a lot of energy, and you still have this. Has to use the flip now and sends it down into the ultimate from Asher, but they are able to get it away for now. Fiery coming back to deal some damage. Try to get the core on this side. A great slime from Twee. Does give a strike ward to Fiery, but won by Twee and Bertram, and still able to hold this last barrier alive each side. Bloom trying to get involved in the offense more, but the positioning has just meant it's had to be Fiery one-on-one, and Bertram winning a lot of these interactions. No flips on the board for anyone, but Fiery and Alex are getting close, and Fiery does have it now, but unfortunately whiffs it completely. Not great flip usage these last few points from PPL, and the core gets past everyone. Atlas Gardeners are able to open it up. Twee pushing up with this flip. Gonna have to try to use it to find a response, as it's been a lot of goals in a row for PPL, but not able to get into position. Does use it here, but the barrage just so good at matching that, and still nothing able to be found yet for Atlas's Gardeners.
Yeah, they almost get an attack going here, but clean and concise play from Loom will hold on to that core. Double ultimate coming out here as well. Alex has a flip, might want to use that as well, trying to get the second barrier as Loom runs up, but Twee notices it early enough, plays around them, but the core does find its way into the barrier there as we're now in 2 open goals. The attack in the hands of Atlas Cornerstone. Loom finds the clear. Bertram with a nice strike shot will set up Wallaby, and Wallaby using that Asher, using that size, will just force it right through Alex and find the angle past Loom to even out this set.
Yeah, we didn't specifically talk about it, but Big Fish going on to Wallaby Gangsta, along with the Built Different, along with the Among Titans on Twee, means it's so difficult to get the core around. It just wins the strike war against 2 people that last point to find the goal. So Bloom pushing ahead, trying to create some more offense, but once again, these Juno Slimes and just Bertram having so many cooldowns means that they're not able to do much this time. And Average Alex just desperately trying to get this core to Fiery, but the strikes are being used well by General Twee, and every time, unless Bloom's able to come help, it just feels like such an uphill battle for PPL to try to get this core in, as Fiery is now having to battle that Tofu Fortress.
Tries to get the attack through the barrier there, but isn't quite able to find the angle, as now Atlas Garner's back on the offense. They do have 2 flips, one coming out from Twee here, trying to get the barrier, but well defended from the side of PPL. And Loom now running up, trying to make use of this Kai flip, but not really being able to get the core there, as Bertram uses the flip defensively and sends it down, not enabling that play on the top half, because that's where Loom can really get involved with that eject button without really risking anything. But a nice play to the side will punish Twee's positioning there as a Giga Blast finds a KO. Power play in favor of PPL now, as Bloom tries to run up, tries to get this barrier, but again, you can see Wallaby Gangsta and Bertram doing such a good job on defense. Do drop the barrier in the end though, as Fiery is now goaling for the side of PPL, but the flip had to come out. 2 flips on the side of PPL. They want to try using one of these probably to get this goal going, but maybe don't even have to. A really good Giga Blast from Loom will send it up to Fiery, but Bertram just really clear with those strike wars, just continuing to win those in those crucial moments.
Yeah, and Average Alex does miss the core flip there, so the energy's turned back around a little bit, but Loom passes up the dribble, and then Fiery able to set up, create some space for Loom, and a great shot to the bottom means a 2-1 point lead for PPL. Despite how much defense and how much they're getting pushed back, they're just finding their opportunities so consistently, and they're able to convert time and time again, especially when Bloom's able to get into the play. Pushed away by the Asher ultimate a little bit here, but now Average Alex and Fiery controlling the corner well. A perfect strike from Fiery as well, gets both barriers, and now Wallaby looking for a KO. Fiery uses the flip, and then the X Maximus finds the KO, and a set turned around just like that for PPL. A 2-1 lead in this as they look to punch their ticket to Grand Finals.
And we do have a now in the first pick position as well, and we do a look at their awakenings now. Fight or Fly, Perfect Form, Hotshot, all high value awakenings. The last spark in rotation in here as well, so I'm curious to see what now is going to be opting for here. The Hotshot going into the hands of Alex makes sense. You don't want to give that to Twee. You don't ever want to deal with a Hotshot Juno, but now you're just going to have to deal with a triple spark Juno, which is also not going to be an easy task for them.
Yeah, a pretty unfortunate setup in the draft, the fact that Juno was second, and then Bloom takes the Perfect Form. Interestingly, I think you could have held on to that and maybe tried to get the exit, but they really did not want Bertram to have that, so instead Bertram has to deny the fight or flight, and it means that Fiery still is able to take up that peak performance and has so much speed in this game, so able to control that speed gate more, and you see there just winning the strikes, has the X Maximus. Average Alex and Bloom playing great defense once again in synergy, but Wallaby Gangsta that time is able to win this interaction against 2, gets the goal open. Bertram able to hold the barrier as well, and you know, you see a lot of both sides with all 3 members having to fall back and play defense. Whoever can do it more possibly is going to be able to win it, but Wallaby Gangsta with a great dribble with the primary and sends it up into the top, so a response found now for Atlas's Gardeners.
A response found, and they are looking at an advantage overall as well, as almost all of them are going to be able to get a flip soon here, so they do want to find an angle to make use of those as much as they can, as the core is going back and forth. The ultimate being tossed out from Fiery to secure a first barrier, tries to get a second one as well, but isn't able to, as Wallaby Gangsta flips the core away to disable any kind of power play there, or any kind of positional power play for the side of PPL. As now the Tofu Fortress will shut down the attack, but goes down now. Alex has a flip, but wants to try to use it offensively, but cannot get into position for it quite well enough, as Atlas Gardeners are still holding on to the second barrier.
Yeah, and the peak performance means it's just so difficult for Wallaby to try to find any kind of KO on Fiery, who does have these stacks almost fully stacked now. Average Alex finding himself a little bit low, but able to safely fall back to the corner and play that defense. You see Bloom getting all the way into the play, but has the eject button up still, able to fall back and just making great use of this all game as they try to continue to force it through this bottom side, not going for a rotate now, just sticking to what has kept the barriers up this point. It is Bertram who's able to rotate it to the top side and immediately find the barrier off the Juno slime, even without the hot shot. Is a red core here as we're in overtime. Bloom pushing ahead now, tries to find it with the Giga Blast, but just barely misses it. Rotates it down to the bottom to Average Alex. Wallaby almost finds a goal once again, but Bertram is able to save it on the other side off the rebound from Loom, and Fiery just not quite able to get close enough this point to find those stuns, to find those X Maximuses, and General Twee almost finds a crazy angle there and finds it, but once again, Fiery just can't quite get close enough.
Can't quite get close enough. The defense from Atlas Gardeners holding up a Fiery now in a 1v1, uses the flip as well, but Bertram disables that almost immediately as now Atlas Gardeners are trying to get an attack going. The Juno blobs are just coming out and just being so oppressive. The ultimate landing on top of the entirety of PPL there, just spawning so many of these blobs as they do find the red core and they send it right past Bloom.
Yeah, so once again, like we saw in that last game, it felt like PPL had it wrapped up, and then Atlas's Gardeners were able to get that fourth set in commanding fashion, and once again, a 2-0 lead for them here. A great Giga Blast from Bloom almost finds the barrier, but Bertram saw it coming, able to keep it alive. Average Alex now trying to get it to Fiery in an offensive position, but Wallaby Gangsta just taking up so much room, and it's impossible to get the core around that Asher consistently. But still, I think PPL, even as they have lost these last 2 points, just doing such a good job of controlling the speed gate means that they're on offense, or at least not on defense, quite as long as Bloom pushes in, almost able to find it. The flip from Twee almost KOs Fiery, but now falling back, trying to keep these stacks up, able to get the orb and transition into Bloom, playing midfield along with Average Alex, and Fiery in the goalie role once again as Average Alex almost gets KO'd. You see the forwards from PPL being pressured a little bit more than they were before, but still not letting any barriers up here.
Yeah, they're doing such a good job rotating into positions as well. As the flip comes out from Fiery, you will find the KO, a power play in favor of PPL now, as they're going to try to get past this Asher Dubu defense, but it's just so difficult. Two of the best defensive goalies in the meta right now, just holding down this barrier, not really giving any kind of space to be working with. As Twee is now back on the field, Juno is back to create more chaos, and Fiery takes a lot of damage as well in the process. Alex has to use the ultimate to keep him alive, but they do find the barrier in the end, as one barrier gets returned from the side of Atlas Gardeners now. Open net on the side of Atlas Gardeners. Fiery tries to get any kind of push going there, but the core bounces past Bloom there. Bloom being maybe a little bit too greedy, running up and wanting to use that flip there, because he drops the barrier for it.
Yeah, and I think it feels like that's the only way they're able to make the offense. Now Bloom tries to send the flip past Wallaby, but the dash catches it and doesn't even have to use the flip himself. So a 3-0 set for Atlas's Gardeners is able to tie this game up. And, you know, they denied that hot shot in that last draft, but the third spark, along with strength for General Twee, just means he still has so much core speed and a 1-2 punch here if he wants it, but I think instead just going to go for more cooldowns and still able to consistently red core a really tough situation. But the Monumentalist going to now will mean a bit of a response and some control in the midfield.
I do wonder how much that Monumentalist will come into play, because it's going to give the side of PPL much needed range, with these mines being so much stronger and so much bigger as well. Other than that, though, the Might of Colossus going on to Bloom, clearly a deny pick off of Wallaby, not giving him even any more size that he needs to. And Fiery is able to pick up a specialized training as well, being a much stronger threat to KO on edges now.
Yeah, and going for that X Maximus early, punching Wallaby, punching Bertram, but not really finding too much of a KO threat now. Goes for the dash, but a good clear by Bertram gets it away from him as Fiery tries to push in. Doesn't have those stacks yet and the speed that he was able to control some of those last sets. Gonna have to try to find that, but it's Wallaby Gangsta all this side pushing in. General Twee trying to get the core around, does barely, but Bloom has enough speed to be able to catch it. Fiery now almost has a flip, being pushed dangerously to the edge. The now primary almost gets it around Bertram, but a lot of size on the Dubu as well means you just can't get it around him that easily. And Bloom trying to push, trying to help this offense and get it around this Asher, but it's just, it feels like too much for PPL to get it around. The slime sends it past both Bloom and Alex. The barrage doesn't catch, and it's a lead in this game for Atlas's Gardeners.
Wallaby Gangsta just has so much size to him that at this point it feels like you just need to completely swap sides to really get past him. And that's going to be so difficult because Atlas Garners has been playing around that speed gate so well as well. Just being present on both sides has to get one berry here. Flip has to come out from Alex to hold on to the second one. But even then, Alex getting low has to use an ultimate to stay alive as Fiery tries to get some kind of pressure going with the ultimate, but not really able to do so. Never mind, they do find one barrier. Flip in front of the second barrier has now open goal on the side of Atlas Gardeners here. Is PPL going to be able to find this goal though in the end? No, Atlas Gardeners holding on and now on the offense themselves. Wallaby Gangsta close to the barrier, uses the flip, but Bloom is able to cover it almost perfectly as the strikes are just going back and forth. They do find the layering to win themselves an interaction. Now Bloom running up, using that Kai flip as well to get something going, but immediately shut down by the Tofu Fortress.
You do see that Monumentalist for Average Alex trying to find that range to get those passes to Fiery. Not quite able to this time. A great strike from Bertram and Twee are able to get it around. The flip gets met with so many abilities. Now rotated up to Bloom, trying to push into this corner. The same play they went for again. And this time they're able to find it. Fiery gets the strike into the corner. It seems like such a hill to climb for PPL to be able to find it around the Dubu and the Asher. But they do that time, and this set is tied up.
Got it side up, but they do need to find it 2 more times if they want to secure their ticket into Grand Finals right here, right now. As the attack is now being built. Atlas Garners, both of their forwards do have flip available to them now. One coming out from General Tree, tries to get a barrier, but Bloom reads it perfectly as Fiery now is able to secure the first barrier. Are they going to be able to find the second one? Not quite yet. You see again Bloom on that offensive positioning as well, but a huge KO being found from the side of Atlas Garners, being responded though almost immediately by Fiery as the attack is now continuing to be built 2v2 in this game.
Yeah, you hadn't seen really any KOs in so long, it felt like, and then 2 found in just a couple of seconds there, as Fiery is taking a lot of damage, being forced to play in this corner so much. Twee with a good slime is able to get around Alex, who had to go for the heal on Fiery, make sure they don't lose those stacks. Playing a lot of defense in the corner now, and Bertram, Twee controlling that, trying to rotate it up, but Bloom is able to push up, and Alex as well. Fiery now going for this goal, not able to find it, and the flip from Bertram is able to open up that other barrier though. Fiery looking with that specialized training, trying to find a red core, trying to find the goal. Average Alex with another pass to him, but just such great layering from Atlas's Gardeners is able to keep it alive for now. A lot of energy really on the whole game, and Wallaby Gangsta with the flip off the middle finds the only spot that PPL couldn't defend, and that puts it on map point for Atlas's Gardeners.
What an angle to be finding there, right? As a goalie, you're never really considering an angle like that, so that's just going to be a complete mix-up as Loom gets caught off guard by it. Now PPL on the attack again, close to 3 flips, but the defensive end on Atlas Garnish is so good. Alex trying to swap sides there, but Wallaby just being ever-present with that Asher, with that size, not allowing any core to go through. As a nice Giga Blast from Loom will be able to find the first barrier though. Fiery trying to get the second one, but Bertram and Twee really well coordinated at getting that core out in the end there. Loom now running up with the eject button, has a flip, wants to use it to get the second barrier, stays up even, says Alex, you got the goal, I'm gonna go attack, as they now do swap back again.
Yeah, long range from Bloom is able to get that first barrier, but the second one has not come quite close. Bloom almost finds another one again from downtown, just going for these Giga Blasts. It seems like one of the most consistent ways they could find the barriers, as Fiery does take a lot of damage. Average Alex doesn't have the lifeline up quite yet to be able to keep him alive, and takes a lot of damage himself. So Atlas's Gardeners have a chance here. They find both barriers, just 1 point needed to extend this series to a third map. Fiery pushing up now. Bloom trying to rotate the core around and get it to him, but Fiery does get KO'd. General Twee almost owned barriers with the slimes, but not quite. Bloom able to keep it alive for now. The power play being desperately held by Alex, and Bloom trying to get that core into Wallaby Gangsta, but rotated around, not quite finding the barrier, but Bloom turning that into offense, immediately pushing all the way up, and Average Alex falling back into the goalie role. They're able to hold on to that power play, and now the Dooku ultimate almost backfires, but doesn't quite find the barrier. Average Alex and Fiery and Bloom trying to hold on, still holding on for now, but just one goal needs to be found for Atlas's Gardeners as they push ahead and just can't get the core to Fiery in the right spot, but they finally do that time. A lot of energy and not being used quite yet. Average Alex sends it, the primary from Twee forces it to Wallaby Gangsta, and a shot to the top side means we're going to a third map.
PPL just holding on so well in that last point for almost an eternity, but in the end it ended up being too much. That Druno core speed, those flips coming out from Atlas Gardeners were in the end just a bit too much for Loom to hold on to. as they do find an important win in this game too. That was a fast game. And the redirects. We're looking at 460 redirects on Alex and 427 of General Twee. Midfielders just really doing so much this game.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about this patch, but I feel like we've seen so many of those games with 300, 400 plus redirects in these last playoffs, and then this tournament as well. Almost 70,000 damage for Fiery that game, and 7 KOs, which seems like a lot, but considering it was almost 33 minutes, a good job of staying alive for everyone, and just 463 redirects on average, Alex, is crazy. It felt like they were in control of that game in the second and third sets, especially. But great resilience from Atlas's Gardeners on PPL's pick to be able to bring that back. And just incredible game. So much back and forth. And it is able to be won by Atlas's Gardeners. And I think our third map pick is not going to quite be a 30-minute game that we saw in these last two.
It will absolutely not be, as we're going to head into an Inkies game, a very different map compared to both AdLab and iMarket, what we've seen so far. So the priorities are going to be looking rather different as well. I do wonder what the goalie picks will be here for both of the teams, because I feel like Inkies is a map where the normal defensive goalie choices don't necessarily always bring the most value. So I'm interested to see if they want to pick up maybe some other pick here, or if we're going to see Bertram on a Dubu again. Also going to be interested to see how well both players are going to be able to play with the water cannons, because it is such a snowbally map, right? If you get the barrier first and you can play with that water cannon efficiently, you can almost always guarantee yourself a kind of momentum to just take the point. As we have our awakenings now, Spark of Resilience and Aerials.
Yeah, not exactly a KO start. And, the Spark of Resilience means that if a team goes for a KO comp, you're able to get that stagger early on. So we'll be a little bit different, probably more similar to that last game. But the fact that it's on Inkies means it really won't be similar to anything we've seen at all. And I think the goalie picks could be a lot different. But yeah, if I think with the aerial start, Juno is going to have a lot of reach with those dashes, and it'll make it impossible to cross clear. That I think PPL could go for a ban there. And yeah, I really don't know what Maloom would go for here. I think Kai is really strong and could honestly be banned, but would you go for a rune here? I know they played that on Oni, and it can be similar, but yeah, I think really hard to, if you're Atlas's Gardeners, to figure out, especially what PPL is going to go for here.
Yeah, most definitely. And even then, Aerials and Spark Resilience, you do have another Spark start, right? So basically, every kind of character pick will be able to find some kind of base value going into this, because they can get their Sparks going early on. They can get that snowball going, which is so important on such a snowbally map like this as well. I do agree with what he said with the Juno pick. I feel like a Juno is gonna have to be picked or banned here from either side, because it is such an open map. These Blobos can help so much with getting an attack going, getting an unexpected angles going in as well. And with that aerials, more range, more jump range is just going to be such a threat to be dealing with. I do feel like Rune has its place on this map, but it's just really difficult to execute. I feel like it's mainly better on a midfielding position, but again, it's an open map, so it's difficult to properly execute. So I would absolutely love to see a rune. Don't get me wrong, but I'd have to see how it's going to be played out, because it's not going to be the most simple character to be picking on a map like this.
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to break it out, it would probably be Maloom, as we still don't have any bans or picks here. So taking their time thinking about this one, I suppose, although they're not technically supposed to see the awakenings until they click ready, but they might have the stream open. But yeah, I think the Kai is interesting, the Juno is interesting, and the Rune as well. I think for melee goalies on this map, it can be harder, but I think Bertram has looked so good on the Dubu every single game that if you're PPL, you have to at least think about it, and then maybe denying something like the Asher. But you would still leave an Atlas up, so it's really impossible to fully deny a melee goalie from Bertram here. But considering how good he's looked on the Dubu, you'd have to consider it. But it's not a great start for him, so I'm not sure what else you would go for a ban for Atlas's Gardeners. Twee has showed a lot, And so, yeah, it's until they start picking, it's hard to say much more. But a lot of options here.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. We
Okay.
do seem to be having some kind of internet issues of one of the teams, so it's being delayed a little bit. I do want to say though, there is a pick that I feel like is a little bit underrated on a map like Inky's here, and that's going to be the Drakkar goalie. I don't know if it's played by either of them, but you have an aerials, you have more range, you can go strike shot. You're really good against hard force as well as long as it's not an Asher. So I would love to see that being picked up, but I'm not quite sure if it will be.
It is also notably, I think, good into Juno and Rune. Yeah, I'm not sure if either of them do play it, but it would be an interesting pick. And I think it is strong on this map. I play that pick a lot, but yeah, I don't know if either of them have that in their bag. But Bloom kind of has like everything in his bag. It seems like not apart from melee goalies. So he could go for it here, especially if they do leave the Juno up. But yeah, these internet issues mean that they have a long time to think about these, and I hope that that doesn't mean the players are changing. They're all able to still stay in, but no bans yet, and we can continue to speculate on what they're going to pick.
Yeah, a lot of speculation is always a bit fun though because you can toy around with the differing set of ideas as well. I do feel like even though it might be a bit difficult to execute, Inkies is a map where an Octavia could be picked. I'm not quite familiar if any other players are able and proficient at being able to pull a pick out like that. But again, you can think about it. You can kind of what if it on a map like this as well.
Yeah, I believe we did see average Alex Pickett in playoffs at some point last week. So yeah, I think he could go for it, and I think with the aerial start, it's something to consider, or the stagger start if they go for more damage. But we finally are here, and it is PPL going for the Juno ban, like we anticipated. So all that yapping, and it was pretty much the first thing that we said. The Juno ban does come through, and we'll see what Atlas Gardeners respond with a ban of their own.
Yeah, the Juno band just makes so much sense, right? That Aerial's Awakening just enables the jump, the range, the blob so much that you don't really want to be dealing with it. And we saw it just in the last game as well. General Twee just doing such a good job at piloting that Juno. As Atlas Gardeners do opt to take out the Asher pick here. Also, again, a really strong character, generally speaking, with a lot of great forcing power which can help you quite a bit on a map like this. Also, really good on the defensive end, of course, just being able to shut down any kind of attack that's kind of trying to go through the goalie here.
Yeah, and they do go for that Octavia on average Alex here. So you did call that one, and I think it is something that can be really hard to defend and stall around consistently. Especially like you start that water cannon and kind of cut the other midfielder away from you, and then you're just able to dribble, keep that flow state up. So I think a strong pick banning a strong plan rather banning the Juno and picking the Octavia there. We'll see how Atlas Gardeners respond. I was about to say I would anticipate Erasmus, and you do see it picked there. Just such a strong pick, even though maybe not the strongest in meta right now on this map in particular. It can be so hard to defend against. And we'll see what the Gardeners. I would imagine they're going to pick a midfielder here. And the Dubu has been left up, and I don't think Bloom is picking that. So they can probably save that for last if they want it. But I'm interested in how PPL runs out this comp, and like we talked about, it's really hard to anticipate what their goalie pick could be with the range that Bloom has. But they do go Gardeners do go for the Mako here this time on Bertram.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? You have a great playmaking forward on that Rasmus. The Mako's going to be enabling that even more so with a lot more movement speed together with the aerials is going to be even an even stronger buff. Buff going to give a little bit of range as well, although Mako isn't necessarily in the most need of it. But just really leaning into that movement speed, and you've seen it for the entire draft so far, right? Octavia, very movement speed central character, the Rasmus together with the Mako. Again, movement speed heavy. Kai being picked up now as well for the side of PPL. Again, another fast character, likely going towards Bloom here, making sure to get that value with maybe an eject button here as well, maybe not. And Kazan, another playmaking forward, going into the hands of Fiery here. As we're looking at, I feel like, similar kind of team comps, just different characters.
Yeah, I think PPL did really well here with the aerial start. Like I talked about how Bloom could pick a lot of things, but Kai is just traditionally probably the best goalie on this map. And with an aerial start, you're able to pick it up in that fourth slot. So Atlas Gardeners didn't want to play against Fiery's Asher, and it does make sense. It's a really strong pick at controlling those corners on this map. But the fact you're able to get the Octavia, you're able to get the Kai later in the draft. Kazan as well with the stagger start means that it's not going to be quite as easy to KO him. You do see General Tweet is able to get the Luna here. So if they have any hope of KOing the Kazan consistently, which is his problem right now, they did pick up the Luna to try to make that happen. But I do really like the draft from PPL here, and I think they have a really strong comp with this aerial start.
Yeah, most definitely. The early sets are going to be in favor of PPL, I feel like, because they just have everything they already need to start off with. Meanwhile, the side of Atlas Gardeners, they do need to kind of find their awakenings, mainly that Luna pick, right? Aerials and Spark of Resilience, not necessarily being the best awakenings for the character. And to top it off, a Spark of Resilience start means that Kazan's going to be able to pick that one up as well. Again, as you said, going to help with that survivability for him. So that KO angle from Luna's not going to be ever present. Luna has a pretty good core control type of playstyle as well, if played correctly. It's just very all or nothing because those dashes are either you hit him or you're just in enemy barrier without the core and completely out of the play.
Yeah, and also on this map in particular, if you miss those dashes, you could find yourself on the other side of the water cannon and then really push out of that play for a long time. Going to be stuck on that other side. So I think Twee in that first game was on the Luna and did a great job of not finding himself out of position too often. But yeah, I think they're going to have to KO this Kazan most likely to be able to consistently keep up with just the well-roundedness of PPL's comp and how much Mloob is going to be once again able to control the field with that Kai, and this time with aerials. I think Strike Shot Kai is a valid pick on this map. It's like Strike Shot is so good at controlling the other side of that barrier when you're across it because it's such a large barrier. But I think the eject button also, especially with aerials, could be valid here. I think Bloom goes for the eject button most often, so that's most likely what we'll see. But it is an interesting choice.
Yeah, I feel like both have their own place, especially on a map like Inkies, where I feel like there's so much value in having that kickoff advantage. Having a strike shot to shoot in there as well together with a barrage is going to do a lot of work for you, but it always comes down to player preference. Some people enjoy having an eject button where you could just get yourself involved with strikes on the enemy side as well. Other players just enjoy having more range and having that extra strike every once in a while to just shut down an attack before it even happens. So curious to see what Bloom will go here as we're now going to load into the game and find out who took which awakenings. And I feel like it's pretty much as most of us expected. Fiery and Twee, both the characters that don't really get a lot of value out of the aerials, going for the Spark of Resilience, and everyone else is sitting on those aerials.
And Twee, once again, standing by his morals and continuing to not play that Magnetized Souls. So going for the slick kicks once again. So going to be, sometimes a little bit slower, but when he's able to control the core, will be faster than the rest. But Average Alex, that first flow state is up, and so far he's able to keep it up, but not for too long. Actually does find the primary there just at the last second, so still able to keep it up. Fiery controlling with these hooks into the corner, able to keep the core on that side for a while, but Average Alex is taking a bit of damage, and Bloom with the Giga Blast is not quite able to control the other side, was going for an orb, trying to control that bottom side, but they do get it around. So first water cannon going to the side of Atlas's Gardeners. Good patience by Bloom, but a little bit too patient, and Wallaby just finds the primary on Bloom. No evade to be found, and a first goal for Atlas's Gardeners.
First goal being found, that barrier again, enabling that water cannon, just completely shutting off the forwards, really going back and helping Bloom there. You saw Bloom with the eject button really trying to make value out of it as well, though, just always being ready to run to the side that is not being attacked by his forwards and trying to get that pressure going, but it just wasn't able to find its target in that last point.
Yeah, an early misstep by Bloom and Average Alex. Bloom sent the pass down, but Average Alex wasn't ready for the strike, so the flow state is down for now, but probably close to coming back. The ultimate doesn't find anything, and once again, Wallaby Gangsta just doing such a good job in these strike wars, able to be the first team to open up the goal. Don't even need the water cannon, as General Tweed with the dash sends it to the top side. No barrage from Bloom to cover that side, and a quick 2-0 lead for Atlas's Gardeners.
And that's a dangerous part of that Kai Ejectbone playstyle, right? Because you're going so far up or trying to get involved so far up, as soon as you lose a single strike war or get forced through in any smart way, it's usually a free shot at the barrier, right? But the upside of when you do execute it properly is a 3-man offense that even a defensive goalie like Mako is going to have trouble dealing with. But again, the hook coming out from Wallaby Gangsta here finds the barrier. Flip has to come out from Loom here. But again, an open goal on the side of PP Legends, and the team comp that I would have figured had an easier time executing in the early stages of the game just lost the first set 3-0.
Yeah, and that means that Octavia is probably going to be picking pretty late, and you're going to be able to deny what you hopefully need to from them, and also just pick up stuff for yourself. But never mind, I guess none of the members of PPL got too much experience, so it is Octavia picking second. Doesn't look like a great draft. No sparks showing up for anyone is interesting. The Deadeye was there, but instead, General Tweed does go for the glass cannon here for a little bit more speed. Interestingly, just I think assuming that you're not going to be able to find those KOs consistently. But what else are you looking at in this draft?
I mean, I'm also seeing a prime time for Kai here is going to have so much value. These barrages are the main piece to hold off the defense, so having more of them is gonna make it a lot easier from Loom. Also going to be really good for the offense as well. And I feel like the glass cannon pickup mainly was also just not wanting to give that to Alex. Sure, Alex is going to be able to get the explosive entrance still, but having that passive consistent speed, I feel like, is still a bit more dangerous on a character like Octavia than having the burst speed on that secondary.
Yeah, great defense by Bertram and Twee there as a lot of projectiles started to come in. They have this water cannon, but are choosing not quite to use it yet. Loom pushing up with the eject button. Eject button goes away, but Average Alex ready to rebound the core on the backside. Just holding on to the water cannon, but they don't need it. Fiery wins the interaction in the corner and is able to find it. So a goal for PPL. You notice in that draft, they were able to pretty much fully deny the Kazan. Has to go for the adrenaline rush here. I don't think those KOs are going to be found too consistently, but it doesn't matter for Fiery that time. Finds the first goal and a lead in this set for PPL.
Well, at a base level, at least you still have 1 second off your cooldown, so Fiery not going to go completely empty-handed, but definitely not an awakening he's going to be looking for. But you can see here Loom with that aggression of the Kai, this is how it looks like when you're playing that eject button and it's just working out, because as soon as Atlas Gardeners tried to find an angle and get the core out, Loom was there almost immediately, takes the barrier, and clean strike war wins for the side of PPL. Will take another point as they're now 2-0 up in this set.
Yeah, 3 points in a row in that first set for Atlas's Gardeners, and then a quick 2 for PPL. So just a game of runs and momentum so far. A lot of damage going to be found on Average Alex, and we'll see if they go for this KO. A lot of energy for them to try to find it and respond in this set. It's Fiery using the flip in the corner. Average Alex staggered and low on energy. The primary from Wallaby doesn't quite kill him, but General Tweed trying to control this corner. Fiery missing a few strikes, and Bertram able to hold on for now. And Wallaby with the secondary does finally find that KO, almost finding one on Bloom as well, but means they are able to get the core past him, able to start up this water cannon as Bertram wins the strike, doesn't send it quite in the right way, but Wallaby hooks it into the cannon. Pass up to Twee, and great offense from Atlas's Gardeners, able to extend this set.
Yeah, they were able to find the barrier, play well with the water beam, and then take advantage of it as well, as they do find their first goal. But they need to find 2 more if they want to turn this into a 2-0 lead. And as it stands right now, PP Legends do have ways to find the barrier here, get an attack going. As again, Loom playing so aggressive. I feel like at this point almost more consistently ahead of Alex than behind him, just really making use of that aggressive Kai play and that eject button. As the barrier does go down, they do try to get another attack going. Again, not playing for the water cannon, just playing as 3 forwards, which makes it so difficult for the side of Atlas Gardeners to really get the core out.
Gonna use the cannon now, this time for the first time in the game. Interestingly, Bloom dribbles into the corner, and the barrage is able to keep it alive. Average Alex trying to keep that flow state up, but Wallaby with the hook is able to keep it down. So Fiery wins the strike war, sends it down, has to force out the flip from Bertram, who does get it away. Wallaby trying to get it around Average Alex and Bloom, who are just controlling space on this defense so well. Once again, like you said, Bloom is in front of Average Alex. It feels like most of the game, but it's working really well for them in this set as they try to find this second goal. Twee has to use the flip off the ultimate, but finds a beautiful pass to Wallaby Gangsta, who does get it open. Bertram trying to go down, trying to get that water cannon open, but the primary somehow just misses the core. Fiery finds the corner, and it's a set response from PPL.
A set response with a first pick for Alex as well. This Octavia could be looking at a few high-value awakenings here, and the Castle last almost immediately being hovered for Alex. Unfortunately for him, there are a lot of high-value awakenings still in this. This Twin Drive also being a really good pickup. That's not going to go into the hands of Octavia here, but we do have 3 Sparks. So Fiery can happily take one, but that's going to be the last one. Does up for the agility here, as the rest of the draft will be played out. Hotshot finding its way onto Wallaby, being a great value awakening as well. The specialized training enabling Bloom to get more KOs off the edges as well. Really need to, Atlas Gardeners really need to watch out for that Giga Blast now to not be taken, caught off guard and taken out.
Yeah, you could have gone for the specialized training on the Rasmus there and tried to find more KOs on Alex, but instead just going for the hot shot and more core control. And I think that is how they won that first set, was just getting it around Bloom and Alex, who have been playing pretty aggressively. But yeah, not going for the damage is an interesting choice there. We'll see how it pays off. And the hot shot there is able to get the goal open, but PPL responds, gets the goal open quickly, and a great pass by Alex down to Fiery, gets it around the strike shot of Bertram, and PPL once again has a lead.
Have a lead and need to continue playing on it. The energy overall still pretty even because it was a rather short point before as well. As kickoff now goes out, Wallaby Gangsta almost being KO'd by that specialized training Giga Blast from Kai, but is staying on the map as Loom is just running up so aggressively, just enabling that pressure onto Loom, but the strike will actually find the barrier there for the side of Atlas Gardeners as a flip comes out from General Twee here.
Yeah, and average Alex just has so much speed with the Castellas and 2 dash awakenings. It's so impossible to get this flow state up. And the water cannon does not find anything. Bertram almost able to defend it. The strike almost finds it immediately, but instead, Fiery does find a KO on Bertram. So it's going to have to be Twee and Wallaby holding on to this against 2. But Fiery finds, I don't think he found the KO. I think Twee had to dash into the corner and does get KO'd by the cannon. 2-0 lead in this set for PPL, who are just continuing to make great positioning choices on offense. Bloom and Alex controlling this midfield.
Twee giving everything to try to hold on to that point, but it wasn't quite enough, as now BPL again on the offense. A nice Giga Blast from Kai will be able to find that barrier as well here, as the water cannon will come out. Core in the middle of it, nothing you can do about it. Get it out if you want, but it's not gonna be able to be done, as Fiery with a clean succession of strikes and ability usage will force it past Bertram. 3-0 set again for the side of PPL as they're going into this third draft.
Yeah, and this was the leftover map. So, you know, it was actually Atlas Gardeners, I believe, who had a choice between 2. Not sure exactly what the other map was, but PPL just looks so comfortable. Looks like they have their game plan. It took them 1 set to get into that. But as we get into this draft here, Stagger Swagger is able to be found on average Alex, so going to be even faster. And if there was any KO threat, it's being nullified by that pick. Some size goes on to Kazan, more cooldowns on Bloom. It seems tough for Atlas Gardeners to be able to bring this back. They do get some size. The Catalyst and Missile Propulsion are all strong picks, but just seems like all PPL and like they've been playing their game plan perfectly here.
Yeah, most definitely. And Bloom has that primetime rapid fire, so those barrages are gonna come out by the second. So it's going to be even more difficult for the side of Atlas Gardeners to really get these barriers and get these goals, as the attack is trying to be set up here, but Loom and Alex just holding on well. And again, the core goes top, gets away from the barrier, but really it's not a clear, because Loom is right there, as now Loom is midfielding Alex in that goalie position, just waiting for Loom to make space, as Twee tries to get a dash going here, but isn't quite able to find the barrier. But Wallaby there with the clean strike war win will be able to secure it, as the water beam will now be sent out from the side of Atlas Gardeners. Bloom almost gets caught by it with a good hook from Wallaby Gangsta, but is able to stay alive for now.
Yeah, and Average Alex has that flow state up. Twee gets it away from him for now, but it just, with that Castellas, it's still not enough to keep it down. Average Alex pushing in, keeps it up again. Wallaby Gangsta goes for the long shot, almost finds it, but Bloom has the cooldowns to be able to save it. General Twee with the ultimate. Fiery has the flip, goes for a pass, and Wallaby with a hook to himself finds the perfect spot in the goal to score it. So a response found by Atlas Gardeners. They've done this all 3 games in the 4th set and once again take a lead.
Yeah, Loom not really fully trusting his intuition there, standing still for even just a split second, which stopped him from being able to get towards that core, as now the core is finding the barrier on the side of Atlas Gardeners, actually. as Fiery is now up front. Loom's going to run up, use that barrage, but well defended for Bertram. Immediately Octavia coming out as well. The flip has to come out from Bertram, but is not able to get it past Alex and Fiery there, as even if the core did go past, there was a water cannon right there to catch it as well.
Yeah, just great control, great coverage from PPL once again, and Fiery has been winning so many of these interactions. The Kazan with size, and Wallaby Gangsta, an unfortunate secondary with the hot shot and 1-2 punch sends it too fast backwards, and average Alex with the flip is able to find it into the top side. A disaster point, 8 seconds, and just one more away for PPL.
PPL just needs to find one more goal to position themselves in grand finals, to confirm themselves, to walk away from this tournament with a little bit of money at the very least, as the barrier does now drop as well. Loom doing such a good job with that. Kai has a flip as well if he needs to use it. Will use the water cannon here, but does not get any kind of core interaction there, as the clears come out from Atlas Gardeners, but it's just so difficult to really do anything, as Loom walks up, uses the flip, gets the attack going, and it's just too much for Atlas Gardeners to defend, as PPL will find the victory in this game 3, win the series 2-1, and secure their spot in grand finals.
Yeah, they move on to grand finals as, the 1 seed, the winners of NASA. It was expected. A great showing from Atlas's Gardeners, who was the LCQ team and found themselves all the way in winners finals here. They'll still have a chance to come back and get a rematch, but it is PPL who continue their series win streak we talked about all through NASA, all the way back. Their last loss in an official series, not a weekly, was in landing against EKC. And once again, the most dominant showing we saw from them this series on that third map took just 13 minutes, and just showing their versatility once again. The Octavia, which we hadn't seen all series, looking really strong there, and just a great job by PPL to close out that series.
Yeah, the win streak will continue, but we will see if it's going to hold for the entirety of the tournament. But PPL, convincing performance. But on the other side, Atlas Gardeners having a good showing as well. Even though they have to go down to the loser side of things now, they're definitely a team to be contesting a win here for the entirety of the tournament as well. So very excited to see how this is going to continue.
Yeah, and next up, we will have losers semifinals. We had a few of those games played this morning, and the teams in that is going to be Polar Cortex, winners of Nasty, taking on the Rose Petals, who are looking to get some revenge from how playoffs went for them. So we'll be back with that game. It'll be losers semis, and the winner of that, I believe, will face Atlas's Gardeners. So those teams still with a chance. We'll be back soon with that game. And don't go anywhere. Thank you for watching. Pick your poison.